Are you struggling with chronic fatigue that's slowing you down from living the life you want to live? Well, if you see yourself as a high performer, there's a really good chance you unknowingly have toxic operating and belief patterns that are keeping your nervous system stuck in this chronically stressed state. And hey, this was me too. I suffered from chronic fatigue for over 3 years and was bedridden for 3 months before I recognized these patterns and was able to start healing and get my life back. So in this video, I'm going to share the 5 toxic thought patterns that kept me stuck in chronic fatigue that are most likely keeping you stuck so that you can spot them, rewire them, and finally start healing. And we're going to do it on the computer because that's what I would have wanted when I was healing, so you could both watch and listen to it. So let's begin. Here we go, the 5 toxic thought patterns that kept me stuck in chronic fatigue. So here's what we're going to cover: why identifying these patterns is essential, the 5 most common toxic patterns keeping you stuck, and most importantly, what to do instead. So first, let's talk about why identifying these patterns is essential. First, healing requires a nervous system shift. Chronic fatigue is not just about low energy. It's a sign your nervous system is stuck in survival mode. If your brain still perceives danger from stress, fear, or unhealthy patterns, your body won't prioritize healing. Second is you can't fix what you don't see. Many people unknowingly reinforce stress through their thoughts and behaviors. The first step to breaking free is awareness, because once you see the pattern, you can start to rewire it. 3, shifting out of stress allows healing. These patterns keep you in fight or flight mode, draining your energy. When you rewire them, you shift into a healing state, allowing your body to rebuild and recover. For example, think of your body like a car. If you keep slamming the gas and the brakes at the same time, your engine is going to burn out. These patterns are the equivalent of that stress cycle. You're trying to heal while also activating the stress response. So let's break these patterns down so you can stop doing them and start shifting into recovery. Now let's cover the 5 most common toxic patterns keeping you stuck. And these are the major patterns that high achievers with chronic fatigue often fall into that you need to be aware of so that you can stop doing them. So pattern number 1 is the overachiever pattern. This was one of the biggest patterns that kept me stuck. So before I had CFS, I was an overachiever in every sense, whether it was work, social life, or fitness. I did it all full on, and I pushed myself to the max. I'd sleep just 4 to 5 hours a night, sometimes with my shoes on, so I could just wake up and rush straight to work. It was nuts. Here's where this pattern comes from. It comes from the need to prove your worth through achievements. For example, when I was growing up, I only received love or recognition from my family when I succeeded. This wired me to believe that I had to achieve in order to be worthy of love and acceptance. Maybe you had a similar upbringing. And now there's nothing wrong with trying to achieve things, but when it turns into an unhealthy obsession where you don't even get much enjoyment from the things you're achieving, that's when it becomes a problem and a bad pattern that can hold you back. So for example, for years when I was an overachiever, I would never have the desire to even stop and celebrate my wins because honestly, they didn't really matter that much to me since they were just a means to an end to try to get some love. I know we went deep there, but it's the truth. Why it keeps you stuck. It keeps your nervous system locked into stress. Your body never gets a chance to fully recover. So here's what to do instead. Commit to stop being an overachiever. Shift from proving your worth to doing what actually brings you fulfillment. Choose sustainable success over burnout. Working hard is fine as long as it's what you love to do. As long as it's something that brings you fulfillment and joy. Otherwise, it'll just be very depleting and keep you in a chronic stress and illness state. So toxic pattern number 2 is the anxiety pattern. So once I had CFS, I became consumed by anxiety. I constantly worried about my health and my symptoms. In fact, every morning, the first thing I did was do a scan of my body, checking how I felt. Obviously, starting the day from an anxious state is not a good way to start the day. And when you're looking for symptoms, you're gonna find them. You know what I mean? Here's where this pattern comes from. It comes from a need for control. And worrying feels like you're doing something about the problem when in reality, you're just making it worse. It also comes from fear of the unknown and uncertainty about your recovery. And here's why it keeps you stuck. Chronic worry signals to your nervous system that you're in danger, keeping it stuck in survival mode. The brain follows your focus, so the more you focus on symptoms, the more you reinforce them. Here's what to do instead. Redirect focus from anxiety to progress. So basically focus on what's improving. Celebrate even the tiniest signs of progress and train your brain to see the improvements you're making each day in your health rather than scanning for danger and worrying about things that may not happen. So there's a lot of people out there, coaches, mentors, who have you keep symptoms logs. And I like to do the opposite of that, because if you're always scanning your body every single day for symptoms, you're going to find them, like what I said earlier, right? But if you're looking for the positive things, then you're going to see more positives. And so I think that's a better approach. Like, yes, when you first start a program or start working with somebody, it's a good idea to do an assessment of your symptoms to see where you're at. But then you want to just try to block them out of your mind as much as possible and just focus on the wins, and then check in within 90 days or so and see if your symptoms have gone away or not. That way you're not just stuck in this toxic pattern of anxiety, just body scanning and worrying about your symptoms. Number 3, the people pleaser pattern. So I used to put everyone else's needs before my own. I was overly empathetic, always making sure others were okay, even at the cost of my own health. Maybe you're the same way. If so, you've got to understand that it's very depleting, always worrying about everybody else. Here's where it comes from: feeling responsible for other people's happiness and fear of disappointing others or being seen as selfish. Here's why it keeps you stuck. Healing requires energy, but constantly giving your energy away to others drains you. Your nervous system is always scanning for approval, keeping you in a stress response. So here's what to do instead. Make your recovery your number one priority, at least for right now while you're healing. And no, that's not selfish at all. You must be healthy before you can effectively care for others. Just like on an airplane, you must put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. So you need to learn to say no without guilt. Helping others is great, but it has to be in balance. And right now, we need to focus on healing you before we can help others. And honestly, your family and friends want you to be healthy and happy. So for the near future, your number one focus should be on you and your health. Number 4, the perfectionist pattern. For a long time, I was my own worst critic. I was always focused on what I did wrong rather than what I did right, which would lower my self-esteem. And I would waste so much time and energy on things that made only a 1% difference and didn't really matter. Here's where it comes from: fear of failure or not being good enough, or a belief that perfection equals safety or success. Here's why it keeps you stuck. Perfectionism triggers self-criticism and stress, reinforcing your fatigue. Healing isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about making progress. So here's what to do instead. Let go of perfection. 80 to 95% is enough. That's my new personal rule. Aim to be outstanding, not flawless. And the last pattern, toxic pattern number 5, is the depression pattern. So for years, I had secondary depression since I could no longer do the things that brought me joy, like surfing, working out, dancing, or traveling, playing music, all the good things. And I was stewing in memories of my past and feeling sorry for myself. This only deepened my fatigue and kept me from moving forward. Here's where it comes from. It comes from feeling powerless over your situation. It also comes from focusing on limitations rather than possibilities. Here's why it keeps you stuck. What you focus on, you reinforce. The brain makes it an unconscious pattern. And focusing on loss keeps your body in a low energy state. So here's what to do instead. Focus on the small wins and your future possibilities. Shift your mindset. Instead of dwelling on the past and what you can't currently do, focus on the small wins you're making and the future you can create. So let's recap what you just learned. Now you know the 5 toxic thought patterns that kept me stuck in chronic fatigue and are most likely keeping you fatigued as well. These toxic patterns are: number 1, the overachiever; 2, anxiety; 3, people pleaser; 4, perfectionist; and 5, depression patterns. The good news is, now that you're aware of them, you can start shifting away from these patterns and start rewiring patterns that serve you. So your action step for this video is to catch yourself from falling into these 5 toxic thought patterns. Even just being aware of them can start shifting your energy and your healing and have you well on your way to total wellness. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, subscribe. I make videos like this every week. And if you want more help on overcoming chronic fatigue naturally, regaining your health, and achieving total wellness, then I invite you to join my free weekly newsletter down below, or apply to work with me one-to-one in the links below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.